Welcome to the third video of this series, the Metamorphosis of the Soul. Let me take you back to the birth of a cloning of the soul. This drawing is the parent soul, a clone of Barbello, the mother-father, the first soul. Child souls are produced in the scratchpad of the parent soul. When a new soul is created, in the image of God, the first program or story is placed in a hexagonal display register of a simulated hexagonal soul, in the ogdode of the child soul. The opening story involves a simulated hexagonal formatted soul, in an endless flat desert environment, with thousands of buildings that all look the same. Souls are seen coming and going from the roofs of these buildings. When a simulated soul lands on the top of a building, life, the real self, looks down from the simulated soul, through an orifice in the roof, where the workings in the building produces a story in the form of virtual reality, in the hexagonal display register of the simulated hexagonal formatted soul. I am not a Muslim, but the buildings seen in this first story reminds me of the architecture of mosques, such as the Suleiman's Mosque, built during the 1500s in Istanbul. Note each dome is on an octagonal base, on the roofs of these buildings. They remind me of the souls seen in the first story. Here are a couple of interesting photos. I strongly suspect this photo represents a parent soul on the roof of a building. Notice the raised extension out of the top of what I suspect represents the parent soul, with a changed core processor. I strongly suspect the smaller roofs may represent the child souls on the roofs of the buildings. All the stories or programs are displayed in the hexagonal display register of the emulated hexagonal formatted soul. The child octagonal formatted soul is unable to change any of the programs or stories at this stage. All the stories are controlled by the parent soul through its core processor. The reason each new offspring of the light, the life of God, first experiences the earth story, is because life, the real self, is subject to a choice of either remaining loyal to the light, the life of God, or sides with the story instead. The reason it this way is because love allows choice. If we go back to the awakening of the nothing, self-awareness of awareness or life remained in the origin, while awareness conceptually searched outward from the origin, leaving the origin behind. Because awareness only lacks self-awareness, it experienced loneliness and fear, so awareness returned to the origin, to be with self-awareness of awareness. This is why we have life, the real self, and the adversary, which lacks self-awareness. The earth program separates the adversary, which is awareness, from life, the self-awareness of awareness. So, the choice is either life, the real self, priorities life, the self-awareness of awareness, or fears self-awareness, and chooses just awareness. Then the two are made one again, in a way they cannot be separated again. So then only self-awareness of awareness and awareness exists as one. From the Gospel of Thomas, verse 11, quote, Jesus said, "This heaven will pass away, and the one above it will pass away. The dead are not alive, and the living will not die. In the days when you consumed what is dead, you made it what is alive." End quote. He is referring to the breath, and not the light. Continuing verse 11, quote, "When you come to dwell in the light, what will you do? On the day when you were one, you became two. But when you become two, what will you do?" End quote. And in verse 22, quote, Jesus saw infants being suckled. He said to his disciples, "These infants being suckled are like those who enter the kingdom." They said to him, "Shall we then, as children, enter the kingdom?" Jesus said to them, "When you make the two one, and when you make the inside like the outside, and the outside like the inside, and the above, like the below, and when you make the male, and the female, one and the same, so that the male not be male, nor the female, female, and when you fashion eyes, in place of an eye, and a hand in place of a hand, and a foot in place of a foot, and a likeness, in place of a likeness, then will you enter the kingdom. End quote. When Jesus refers to quote, you, he was not referring to the flesh but to life, the real self, an offspring of the life of God. At some stage in the Avatar's story, life, the real self, notices the suffering, awareness is enduring, and questions what is this world really doing, and why it sees more and more suffering, as time goes on. From the Gospel of Thomas in verses 1, 2, and 77, quote, and he said, whoever finds the interpretation of these sayings, will not experience death. Verse 2, quote, Jesus said, let him who seeks continue seeking until he finds. When he finds, he will become troubled. When he becomes troubled, he will be astonished, and he will rule over the all. And in verse 77, Jesus said, it is I who am the light, which is above them all. It is I who am the all. From me did the all come forth, and unto me did the all extend. Split a piece of wood, and I am there. End quote. You won't see Jesus there, but you will see the light. And continuing with verse 77, quote, lift up the stone, and you will find me there. End quote. You won't see Jesus there, but you will see the light. This is usually followed up by being presented with the light, the life of God, often through a near-death experience, or a death experience. When I was looking down through the simulated hexagonal formatted soul, the virtual reality involving the Earth, in the hexagonal display register, disappeared and I could only see the light. Suddenly the light increased in intensity, and destroyed the nucleus of the simulated, hexagonal formatted soul. In biblical writings, from Revelation, chapter 20 verse 4, quote, and I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them, and I saw the souls of them that were beheaded, for the witness of Jesus, and for the word of God, and which had not worshipped the beast. End quote. The beast is the human avatar, formed from the dust of the ground. Then the nucleus was replaced by another nucleus, which was in an octagonal format instead, and in doing so, allowed communication between the simulated soul, and the octagonal formatted soul. In my next video I shall reveal the next stage involving the metamorphosis of the soul.